Hey guys, it's Kyle. I'm out here in West Michigan. Told you guys I'd give you a review of how the solar panels actually performed. So here we are for my first update, which is my August review for July activity. So once again, getting a lot of great questions. Haven't turned my light switches on and off every time I leave the room. Yes, I have. I've watched the sun hit my panels from the road every single second of the day. Also, yes. It's actually been a pretty interesting experience knowing your house is producing electricity, or at least as for me, it's kind of a cool feeling. So it's been good. I just got my hair and makeup done, so I'm ready to give you guys the results. And it's been a pretty unexpected month. So we'll see how they actually performed, and I'll show you guys my fancy Excel skills and give you the results. So here's my screen. And the first tab here is the in-phase data, and the in-phase data is actually it's the Enlighten app, which is what the solar panel company gives you access to review your data. So I just did an export from the app, and it gives you the date and time and the kilowatt hours it actually delivered. So on your electric bill, if you haven't seen it before, it does give you a rate times your kilowatt hours, and that's how they determine what your bill is. They do have some extra distribution fees and setup charges, all the other things on there that I'll show you guys once we get to it. But I also made a nice little graph here. So yeah, it's really easy to see. And you might be like, Kyle, why do you have all these kilowatt hours in July and then this insane gap and then more kilowatt hours? And that is where the not so fun part comes into play of the story here. So, just to give a little timeline of events to explain it. So on June 21st, we had the panels on the roof actually put on our house, and that was when the electrical was hooked up. And then, roughly a week later, 8 days later, the inspector came here and gave the okay for the system to be turned on. Once Consumers Energy agrees, of course, they have the final say, consumers, that is. And then the next day, on June 30th, which was a Friday, True Home Pros, the people who installed the solar panels, came out and turned the system on too early. So I, once again, have not known much about solar panels in the past, so I'm kind of learning as we go here. So I did not turn the system off like I should have. So the PTO, which is also the permission to operate, was granted by consumers on July 13th. So if you were to turn your system on before that you can get some fines for that, which I didn't know. I now know. So yeah, it was turned on too early, and I didn't choose to turn it off because I didn't think there was a problem with it till now I know. Here we are in August. So once I got the permission to operate, I was like, oh great, our system's already on, should be good. So you can see we were actually generating electricity before the permission to operate was there. But little did I know, our system was actually turned off by somebody, we don't know who. It had to have been actually turned off at our house. So either inspector, Consumers Energy, some random stranger, out there. I don't know who it was, but somebody decided to turn our system off, and that was on 7/8. And there's no security on our house. Somebody can just flip the switch on and off. So that's the unfortunate part of it. So the August bill I'm about to go over with you guys actually covers July 7th through August 6th. So just to make a nice comparison's sake, we got July 7 here. I'll highlight down to August 6th. You can see it sums it for you right there, 190 kilowatt hours. So what was I hoping to get? Right around that 500, maybe a little over that for kilowatt hours. So it's honestly quite a disappointing performance from the in-phase data. But as we're getting started here, it's kind of this big puzzle that's still being figured out. But like I said, 190 kilowatt hours. But when we look at our August bill, the puzzle piece of this is that you can see our self-generated outflow for August was actually 359 kilowatt hours. So in phase is saying 190, our bill is saying 359. What the heck's going on? Really not sure. And I did, contact True Home Pros about it. Like, hey, why was our system shut off? All that good stuff. Still, they're not really sure. They think that we still should have generated much more than the 359 on here. Thankfully, somehow consumers must have started reading our meter, back in June when we shouldn't have been generating electricity, and maybe when our system was off, it still did generate electricity. It's really confusing. So I'm really hoping that this in-phase data and what our self-generated outflow section actually start to match up. I wouldn't expect them to be perfect, but within the same like 50 kilowatt hours for a month, I would hope. I don't know. So I just want to give you guys the actuals. No line here. No, I'm not trying to say solar panels are amazing. Not trying to say they're great. Just kind of giving you with the actual what's going on here. So luckily we got 359 self-generated outflow. It gave us a $45.25 credit. And our bill really would have been this 42 plus the 45. So, and then of course tax would have been a little bit higher than that because they take the tax on the total. So, really looking right around 90 is what it would have been if we didn't have the solar panels on here. And then I did include the August 2022 bill just for comparison's sake, which was about 93. Something to note that's interesting, if you really care to look at the details, we had 474 kilowatt hours that we used last August in 2022, and this year we only used 439 kilowatt hours. So, a decent amount less. I probably attribute that to turning the lights off every hour in my house and sitting in the dark when I shouldn't be, stuff like that. So, it does, having solar panels, it actually does really make you want to save energy. So that's kind of like a nice little, benefit that you wouldn't think about. Okay, so now that we've dove into that, the other thing that's worth noting here is that you're still going to be billed based on the amount of energy you actually use. So you can see here there's this distribution line item that has 439 kilowatt hours times 6 cents basically. That equals $28. That's quite a bit. Back in 2022 it was $30. So it's actually a very large portion of your bill that you won't be able to get to go away. And same with the system access. The $8, you can't get that to go away. And unfortunately, the mortgage companies don't. For most mortgages, you have to actually keep your electric service. You can't disconnect from consumers. Not that I personally would want to anyway, but just the fact that you can't get rid of those charges, no one really talks about that. So kind of interesting fact there. So let's dive into the numbers a little bit further here. So like I said, I was hoping to get to that 500 kilowatt hour self-generated outflow, and I did some analysis. So what would it have looked like if our system was never turned off? I would assume we would have gotten to at least 460 kilowatt hours, which is an additional 100 than what consumers gave us. And that's this analysis right here. So we had the on-peak percentage, which if you go back here, the percentage just kind of shows what was on peak versus off peak. I did the math for you. So that's 38% versus 62%. And then if you really multiply that by the 100 kilowatt hours, it turns out to be about 12 total dollars. So we would have actually had a larger credit of 12, a larger credit that would have been $12 more, bringing our bill total down to $30. So some other, one other analysis piece I did on here was the wildfire smoke. And I looked at a bunch of different articles, not more than just Wikipedia, I promise. And it shows that the research shows that you would have had a between 10 and 30% drop in kilowatt hours because of the smoke. So just to assume, a light amount here. So we'll just assume 10% because it's really hard to say. So if we had an extra 10% in generation, we probably would have gotten to that 506 kilowatt hours, maybe even 550. But just to be generous, we'll just say 506. And when you do the math with the same breakdown that I did up above, you really end up getting about almost $6 extra because of that wildfire smoke, bringing our total bill really should have been around $24.41 if everything went perfect. And, can you really rely on there to be no wildfire smoke in these days? Probably not. Hard to say. It depends what you believe. I think there will always be, some factors that we're not expecting. So in summary, what we should have gotten was probably a $24 bill. We ended up getting 42. Can't say that's great. But there's also, so many other benefits with going solar. You're reducing carbon emissions. It's increasing the value of your house. You're locking in your rates for electricity. Right now I have a fixed payment, $86 a month on my solar panels, and that was with zero down. Of course, financing it. I have the option to pay them off in full if I had the money to do that, and then if you really decide that like, hey, these aren't performing how you want it to, the contract does allow you to just stop paying, and they will take the panels off your house. So will we do that? Probably not. Of course not. We want to see how these perform more than just 1 month. It's not fair to give it just 1 month worth of data to make that decision, especially when you have the system that was turned off partially throughout the month and then the wildfire smoke. So in summary, I really would have had a bill around 87. If you had the tax in there, it would have probably been about $90 in August. Instead, I had to pay the 86 plus the 42, and I actually had to pay 128. So if you look at it from a cash flow month over month basis, I really ended up paying an extra $41 to have these solar panels on our house. Like I said, did we pay more than we should have? Yes, but we have those intrinsic benefits of adding value to our house. We're helping the environment, stuff like that. So too early to say if they're worth it or not. But to me, I still really enjoy having them, and I'm thinking we'll get this saved into the green here eventually. So keep you guys updated as time goes on, and yeah, we'll see how it goes next month. So thanks for listening, guys.